listeners, welcome back to HTO Football. You're here as ever with Andrew and Tom. We're doing a quick one today. We're jumping in. The news happened yesterday. It's going to be England-Germany. So we thought, what better way to prepare for the last 16 than to give a quick predictions on those last 16 matches and who's going to go through to the quarters. So we're jumping on to do that today. There's some really interesting matchups, isn't there, Andrew?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of sort of hype about the tournament so far. I think it's warming up slowly. I think it's been a couple of cracking games, but overall, I think with the fans being back has helped. But yeah, I think now we're in the knockouts, it's going to come alive.
Yeah, definitely. Let's just take them in order of as they come up. Saturday, Wales, Denmark, first up. What are you fancying? Because Denmark obviously started really slow, obviously had the unfortunate Christian Eriksen incident. Great news he's doing well, but it clearly affected them for those first two fixtures. They kind of scraped through, but they're a good side, aren't they? So I'm probably leaning towards Denmark now they've got through.
Yeah, same actually. Yeah, I mean, when something like that happens, it's going to have a massive impact. And in the end, they sort of scraped through, but a very, very impressive win last time out against Russia. They're a very good side. I mean, we spoke about this before the tournament. We had them qualifying like quite comfortably, really, along with Italy. And obviously, Wales have done what Wales do. But yeah, I can only see one winner here. I think Denmark are going to keep getting better. They've got the momentum, and I think they've also got a lot of other fans that have jumped on their bandwagon as well after the Eriksen.
Yeah, rightly so. I think most fans would love to see a bit of that. You know, was it 92 when they came through and won it from nowhere? You know, if anyone else can win it for Christian, yeah, I think lots of fans would like to see that. I think they should be too good all over the park. They were some people's dark horses, them and Turkey. And obviously, Turkey didn't live up to that billing, but Denmark really could. They could still go deeper in that tournament.
Yeah, I think
Wales always have a chance. You got Gareth Bale, you got a chance, but yeah. I think they'll win.
I don't think there'll be a lot of goals in that one, though. Wales do tend to keep in games quite well.
Yeah, and keeping it tight will benefit them, obviously. Ultimately, if they keep it tight, rely on a Bale piece of magic, it could still happen. I just fancy Denmark to have too much. Probably slightly more straightforward. Italy, Austria. Italy have looked very, very impressive, haven't they?
They have, yeah, and it's just a case of if we've sort of jumped the gun too soon with Italy, but I don't think so. I think they'll get through this one. I mean, I think from memory, I don't think we tipped another mistake. I don't think we tipped Austria to get through earlier on in the tournament, but they're a decent side. But I think Italy have looked probably the most impressive outfit so far, I'd say, in terms of
all over the park.
Yeah. I mean,
strong.
Belgium have qualified without any fuss, but Italy just have got that thing about them at the moment.
Yeah, lots of young sort of good players as well, and yeah, looking good, impressive.
And that's at Wembley.
Both ends of the pitch. Austria, like you said, they've got dangerous players. Kleber's obviously a top player. Arnautovic, you know, back from his ban, obviously dangerous. But yeah, you fancy Italy to be far too strong, to be honest with you. I'd fancy sort of a 3-1, 3-0 job there. Sunday gets a bit tasty though. Netherlands versus Czech Republic, and then Belgium, Portugal. How do you see these games going?
Holland. I never say Netherlands. Holland, Czechs. Well, Holland are a little bit like Italy. They're in the groove at the moment, and when Wijnaldum's playing out of his skin, Depay is always going to cause problems. They seem to, they've qualified really convincingly, being able to sort of take off players, rest players in their final group game, which says a lot. It's particularly a short round tournament where you've got 3 games and you can do that in the third one. You've obviously done something really well. But yeah, the Czechs looked okay. I thought the other night against England, nice and tidy, but I can see Holland winning that one quite.
Yeah, I think they might win that one. I think that'll probably be it for them. I don't see them competing in the later stages, the Netherlands, but I think they'll have too much. I think they, you know, growing up, Holland were always kind of serial underachievers when you look at the squads they had. Look at the squad they had in the sort of 90s and you thought, wow, how are they not winning? You know, phenomenal teams. However, I think they're sort of benefiting from not really having some.
Yeah, I was going to say it might have been on the complete flip side with this tournament. You know, sort of perhaps overachieved.
Yeah, and I think they're benefiting from not having those superstars. In the 90s when you had your Bergkamps, your Kluiverts, Davids, big name brands. But ultimately, and then even into the early 2000s, RVPs, Nistelrooy, all these people but did it do them any favors? I'm not sure it did. And like you say, Wijnaldum kind of in that more advanced role, playing really well. Depay ahead of him, just got a nice little outfit, and I think they're doing well. I think
Yeah,
they'll sneak past that one.
yeah. I think the problem with Holland has always been not talent; it's been mindset, and it's been the dressing room. Because there's a lot of names that you've just mentioned there that I think down the years there's always been they've done their best, haven't they, to kind of fly on it.
Probably, well, with the England game, draw of the round, the next one up, Belgium, Portugal. I'm going to set my stall out. This is a really early thing. It's punchy. It's too punchy. I think Belgium are going to win the Euros. I think so. I'm obviously going to tip them here, but I do think it's going to be a good game. You can't keep Ronaldo out of the headlines, whether he's moving Coca-Cola bottles or winning, or winning games or scoring penalties. You can't keep him out of the headlines. I just fancy Belgium. Before the tournament started, obviously we had our early predictions. I fancied France. What I've seen, I think it's Belgium's time. I think they're due a tournament win. I think their players have matured. Lukaku's had the season of his life. De Bruyne, even though he's won the title at City and won the cup, almost with a slight point to prove on this level stage, it's his time. I fancy Belgium to nick this game, maybe in a tight, sort of good fair, 2-1, 3-2, and then I fancy Scotland to win it and put my sword up.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I think I've learned from our group predictions. Apart from jumping on these chats and doing the prediction pods, I'm not going to call much really because.
But the great thing is, Tim, what you can do is you can call it. It doesn't happen. Portugal win 4-0. Then we jump on and do the quarters. I'm like, definitely Portugal going to go in the Euros. So every round you can just change, and people don't care. That's the great thing about being a punter.
Well, with that tie, it's the classic. It's the Ronaldo thing, isn't it? He just continues to break records. Literally did it the other night. I mean, Belgium. Is it Belgium's time? And that's the big thing. I think De Bruyne and Lukaku look like they're in great shape, which is what you need to do for these tournaments. Put a little run together, just make sure that you can keep people fit. And those two could win the tournament on their own. Really, I think. Yeah, I'm going to go for a slight Belgium win.
Nice. Monday, Croatia, Spain, France, Switzerland. Croatia, Spain. I fancy Croatia. A bit like the Denmark story, but for different reasons. Slow start. Didn't look very great against England in that first game. What a hit from Modric against Scotland. What a beautiful goal.
I know people are talking about that Patrick Schick goal, but for me, that Modric goal was the best goal of the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal strike.
You don't see goals like that anymore either. Outside of it, you don't see it.
And yeah, so I fancy them. I fancy them to knock out Spain. Spain haven't been impressive to me. They didn't really come in with any expectations, I don't think, to be fair, of winning it. But I fancy Croatia to nick that in probably a not very memorable game. It's not necessarily one I'm going to.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't think it's one of the more excitable ties to look at on paper, but I think we could see a cracking game there. Two teams that really turned up in their final group games. Croatia looked back to their usual self against Scotland, and Spain banged 5 against Slovakia. So two teams that are on the rise, and we could see that come to fruition in a really good goal-scoring game there, I think.
France, Switzerland, I presume edging France. If France are weird, on paper their team is ridiculous. I don't think they've looked that impressive this tournament. Arguably the best showing was the sneaking the win against Germany, and even that, because you felt like there were more. You at least felt there was more to come, but they haven't really unleashed that yet. But nonetheless, I think they should be far too strong for Switzerland. Probably sort of, like a sort of a 2-0, keep them at arm's length job.
It wouldn't be a last 16 round, would it, without Switzerland? They just somehow seem to be a part of the furniture, don't they? I mean, but yeah, it's going to be a comfortable France win. There's more in the tank for sure. And I think that's why a lot of people are tipping them still, because I think they're the only team that look like they're going through the paces.
Yeah, and you could argue they kind of won the World Cup like that. They almost won the World Cup in second year. Even that final, they didn't look great against Croatia, the World Cup final, but they did enough. They did enough. And you almost, and I'm going to use a Wenger phrase, you'd like to see them take the handbrake off a little bit because you think they could be phenomenal. But it's almost just like they don't need to. So I think they'll have too much. Obviously, we move on to the last of the games. There's 2 on Tuesday. Let's talk about Sweden Ukraine before we finish the England game. How do you see the Sweden match?
I think this is going to be a case of can Ukraine break down a Sweden side that just look incredibly resolute. Ukraine have looked tidy, good on the ball. I thought they played well against Holland in the second half. They look like a team that can get it together in spurts. But no, I mean, Sweden for me we'll talk about that in a minute. I said the winner of the England-Germany tie plays the winner of this one, don't they? And I mean, Sweden have got the capability of reaching the semi-final. If they can continue to defend how they are, then they could be in a real shout of being not dark horses to win the thing. But I'm going to go for extra time in that one, and I fancy Sweden to scrape through.
Yeah, probably agree. I think it could be a fun one. Ukraine have a couple of very good players. Malinovsky, Zinchenko. They're decent side. But I think Sweden might just have a bit too much all over the park and be a bit too resolute. Right, we've come to it. A couple of minutes left. How are you feeling before the other clash of the Titans, the old enemy, the brilliant rivalry that is England-Germany revisited? Okay, before you go into why, give me one name. Who's winning that match?
England.
Ooh, there he goes. And why is it happening?
Well, I mean, there's not a massive amount
other than the fact it's coming home. That's the reason.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's not a great deal of confidence behind that answer, but I just feel that if we forget the history, and you kind of have to a degree, this is a brand new football match. Like a lot of these players weren't even alive when Euro '96 was around. And Germany just don't look very. I know we haven't.
The World Cup 2010 with the ball over the line.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
we haven't that one well.
We've not looked thrilling by no means, but we look very solid. I think there's more to come, and I don't think this Germany team are. When it comes to the crunch, we've seen with this Germany team in this tournament so far as well, like last night and against Portugal in stages of that match, and in qualifying, they can fall apart a little bit. Germany. Who you'd never really label them like that, would you? Really, over the years, but I fancy us. But we do have to play better.
I think we do have to play better. I'm going to say England for many of the reasons you've just said. Also with the heart, I'll just go England. I think obviously it's a toss up. They're a good side. I would like to see us, because I think you're right. I think they can be got at. So I'd like us to be a little bit more progressive. And I do understand that the pragmatism is the fact that we're not going to go and outplay France. We're not going to go and outplay Belgium. You've got people like Hazard and KDB on the ball. We're not going to outplay those people. However, this Germany team, I think we actually could take it to them a little bit. Yes, retain the sort of resolute nature that's kept us so solid. But I think, I think we should take it to them a little bit. They've conceded goals, couple against Hungary, couple against Portugal, albeit in a 4-2 win. 4-2, I think it was 4-2. So, albeit in a big win, they've conceded goals there. Conceded against Hungary. They've obviously conceded in all the games they played because having lost to France. So they can be got at. On the flip side, we're looking great defensively. Let's bring it on. England to go through. You've heard it here first. England to go through and then clearly march to the final with our open draw.
Well, it's quite interesting. I just took a little sneak peek there, thinking a little bit far ahead, but looking at the quarterfinals, and whoever we play, that will be in Rome. So that's just going to continue to flood back more of the Italian 90. It's just going to be cracking. So
we'll obviously jump on though, listeners, to give the preview of the quarterfinal, where we're going to be
still in it.
Yeah, then we're going to be really getting excited because England are basically on the cusp of bringing it home. Those are our predictions. Probably pretty standard. Maybe a couple of shocks in there. Hope you enjoy the round. Stay listening at HTO Football, all your usual channels. We've got a couple of really exciting big full pods coming up for you. We know you try to love the Euros madness for now. But until then, take care.
See you later, guys.